Hey folks, and welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. Well, we have just seen the last fight of the Ring 4 card, and it was a good card, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where they were fighting at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm very pleased to say that it's 10 past 7 here. It's all done and dusted. I can sit down and watch a little bit of TV. I don't have to stay up late. It's all worked out really well. Anyhow, this last fight, David Benavidez against Anthony Yarde. The monster versus the beast. Well, a few days ago, I did my prediction video, and I thought that this was the easiest fight on the card to predict. And I called it for David Benavidez. I said that he would simply be too much. In fact, I think I said that I was trying to be really even-handed, but I could see no way for Anthony Yarde to win. And I thought this would be, I think I might have said stoppage in about the 7th, 8th kind of round. Well, in fact, most people who opined in the comment section tended to agree that David Benavidez would simply be too much for Anthony Yarde. Some people said that Anthony Yarde was a real hyped-up fighter. There was one chap who thought that Anthony Yarde's resume, I suppose, was actually better than David Benavidez, and was going to bet quite heavily on Anthony Yarde KO. So I wished him well, because clearly he would have gotten good odds. I hope if he's still watching, he didn't put too much money on. A little bit of a flutter is fine, but wouldn't want to put sort of next month's rent on it. Because, as it happens, Anthony Yarde lost, honestly, every second of every round until he got stopped in the 7th. It was one-sided beatdown, very much as... and I'm not sort of saying that I've got a crystal ball, I absolutely don't, but very much as myself and virtually everybody else was predicting. Anthony Yarde was just outclassed. Benavidez was too fast for him. I mean, there were combinations being thrown with speed that Anthony Yarde had no answer for. And it was simply a case of, how long is this going to take before Benavidez puts his foot on the gas and finishes Yarde off. I don't want to take anything away from Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde did his best, but his best just wasn't anywhere near good enough. I'm quite bullish on Benavidez. I think Benavidez... he's carried his power, he's carried his speed from 168 to 175. In my sort of, rating of light heavyweights at the moment, I think of Bivol, Beterbiev, and then Benavidez, right? And Beterbiev for sure is aging out. It would be very enjoyable, in my view, to see Benavidez and Bivol, or Benavidez and Beterbiev if Beterbiev is not yet going to retire. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but he's 40, I think. But anyways, David Benavidez is, he's simply, in my view, of course, and everyone's got their own opinions on this. In my view, he's simply, that class above everybody else at the light heavyweight division. I mean, you've got Bivol and Beterbiev who are at the absolute peak, and Benavidez is maybe just a smidge below that. And then you've got others, right? Like everybody else kind of thing. What was different about this fight with Anthony Yarde compared to when Yarde lost to Beterbiev, or lost to Lyndon Arthur, or lost to Kovalev, is in each of those fights, Anthony Yarde was in the fight. Yes, he was in the fights against Beterbiev. But tonight he wasn't. like somebody who's a big Anthony Yarde fan might want to put a bit of a spin on it and convince themselves and other, like-minded aficionados of the sport that Anthony Yarde was putting up a decent show. Honestly, I just didn't see it. Didn't give a single round to Anthony Yarde. Didn't think that there was any issue that he was causing Benavidez anything really to think about. Kind of really as I expected. But where does Anthony Yarde go now? Well, he's getting somewhat long in the tooth. I think this was his last hurrah at world title level. There's probably still some fights for him, but retirement should be, if not immediately around the corner, at least at the end of the hall. David Benavidez, I would like to see him with Bivol. I would like to see him with Beterbiev, though there isn't much point, I suppose, in fighting Beterbiev. I would like to see him with Bivol. I think David Benavidez is going to be a dominant light heavyweight for the remainder of his career. How long is that going to be? Well, he's good for a while. But for Anthony Yarde, I think that this was Anthony Yarde's last hurrah. He went out on a shield, he took his beating. And hopefully he got well compensated. He can go home and say, you know what, I've lost. Let's forget the Lyndon Arthur loss, because he's revenged it twice. But he can say, look, I lost to 3 great fighters. I lost to Kovalev, I lost to Beterbiev, and I've lost to David Benavidez. The Lyndon Arthur thing was a bad day in the office, which I made good on 2 subsequent occasions. And he can say, you know what, I had a good run at it. I've made good money, had a good career, and now go off and do something else for the remainder of his life. No point carrying on, because the wins are going to get fewer and the losses are going to get more painful. So there we are. A good card. I enjoyed also the undercard, the free bits, before the big 4. I thought there were some decent fights there, including a young 16-year-old lad from Mexico who was making his first professional appearance. Wow, they start them young down there, don't they? I also quite like the commentating. Better than that which you get at some of the, anyways. This commentating was better than many. Though I found the occasional interjections of Malik Scott to be somewhat amusing. But anyhow, that's just me. At least he's married well, shall we say. That's all I've got for this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed the boxing and thought that this was a worthwhile card. As you know, I don't like pay-per-view. But this was, if you're going to have a pay-per-view, this was a good pay-per-view card to buy, significantly better than the last 2, which I actually didn't buy. So there we are. That's all from me. If you've stayed up, well, good on you. I'm not sure if I would have stayed up to 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't think I could have. But for me, it's 20 past 7. Time to watch a little Netflix and call it a good evening. Thanks for watching. See you on the next videos. Bye-bye.